Hi kiddos, today I'm going to read to you Mr. Seahorse. And seahorses are fascinating fish because instead of the female, the girl fish getting pregnant, the male, the boy fish gets pregnant. So watch this. Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. "It's time for me to lay my eggs," she said. "Can I help?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Oh, yes, thank you," said Mrs. Seahorse, and she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. "I'll take good care of our eggs," said Mr. Seahorse. "I promise." As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a group of trumpet fish hiding in a patch of reeds. Can you see the trumpet fish? There they are. Pretty cool. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Stickleback?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Delighted," replied Mr. Stickleback. "I just built a nest and right away Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch." "Keep up the good work," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. So that's another example of how a male fish takes care of the eggs. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a lionfish hidden behind a coral reef. Do you see the lionfish? Ta-da! But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Tilapia?" asked Mr. Seahorse. Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer. His mouth was full of eggs. I know," said Mr. Seahorse. "Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs, and now you're taking good care of them until they hatch." Mr. Tilapia nodded his head. "You must be very happy," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. So tilapia are another fish that where the male takes care of the eggs. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a pair of leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. Ooh, they're really camouflaged. I don't see them. Let's see. Ta-da! Pretty. You see the leaf fish? But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Curtis?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Perfectly fine," replied Mr. Curtis. "Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs, and I have them stuck on my head." They're right on his head. "Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch." "You are doing a good job," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. So another example of the male fish taking care of the eggs. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a stonefish hidden behind a big rock. Do you see the stonefish? Let's see. Ta-da! But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Pipe?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Couldn't be better," replied Mr. Pipe. "Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch." "You should feel very proud of yourself," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. So a pipefish is another one where the male, see the eggs along his belly, takes care of the eggs. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Bullhead?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Tip-top," replied Mr. Bullhead. "Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs, and the eggs hatched, and now I'm babysitting." "You are doing a fine job," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. There's another male taking care of the little fish. The time had come for the seahorse babies to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that. At last, the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to come back into the pouch. "Oh," that's this one right here, you see? "Oh, no," said Mr. Seahorse. "I do love you, but now you are ready to be on your own." So after seahorses are born, the parents don't take care of them. They're just ready to be by themselves. Pretty crazy. And that's the end. I have a really cool video in the science section so you can watch seahorses being born. Okay, bye.